time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. Today we focus on perhaps our weekly, maybe bi-weekly discussion of Nvidia. As you know, we recommended this back in November. We said it would double by the beginning of January, and it tripled, and it's still running. So the question is, where are we going, why, and how does Tesla and Apple impact that, which is what today's show focuses on. So just a reminder, please take time to like and subscribe. Please join us on Patreon if you'd like more information on better investing and trading, etc. So I wanted to review with you today the Nvidia situation. There's a challenge that's popped up, and the challenge is the Nvidia sort of brilliant run over? And the answer I'm coming up with it is not sort of, but not really. So the first thing that's going on right now with Nvidia is in Silicon Valley, there's a concept called vaporware. You already may know what this is. And so what vaporware in Silicon Valley is there are certain firms who recognize that they're way behind in a very important technology. So they go through a process where they'll announce to their customers that they're about to come out with competitive products to the new idea or products. And then what they'll do is frantically go after building that competitive solution, but they don't want to have all the customers go away before they're ready. Otherwise, they'll be finished and out of business. So right now, Intel, for example, and some of the other companies that didn't have a large presence in GPUs are now aggressively making an effort to catch up, and hence the vaporware to sort of freeze customer movement away from their solutions. So I, for the last several weeks, have spent some time doing research to determine is Nvidia's advantage for real? B, is it possible they can maintain the monopoly for quite a while? And C, where do we go from here with investing in them? Well, I'm kind of stunned when they did the 10-for-1 stock split. The stock was around 100, 105. The high for this past week was 104. I believe that it'll continue to move upwards, but clearly the main reason is the amount of money that's being spent on them, and there's the backlog that goes along with that. So one of the things I wanted to review with you today, is we're about to see something happen with Nvidia's sort of revenue and earnings growth, and I call it Apple/Tesla dominance. Now Tesla buys chips and they're going into other devices, not into cars currently, namely sort of the large energy facilities for the trucks, as well as utilities at grid scale storage. Now, the other thing that's going on is when it comes to a company called TSMC in Taiwan, we've now entered what I call the Apple zone. Starting end of May, beginning of June, Apple starts building chips with TSMC that will go into the latest iPhone that'll come out in September. So the way this process works is, let's say you have a car wash, and only one car at a time can go through the car wash and be washed. Well, what if a whole bunch of people want to go into that car wash? Well, they've got to buy very expensive slots to do so, or they've got to find a way to buy the company whose car is going through it, or they just have to wait their turn until the other car goes through. The car in this case going through the TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor car wash, is called Apple Computer. Now their chips take precedent because they're the largest buyer, so they consume basically 1/4 of the productive capacity of TSMC each year. Now, how is this going to affect Nvidia and why? Well, TSMC also provides chips to, among other customers, Nvidia. So what's happening is Nvidia would experience higher growth rate because they could deliver more earnings and revenue, if Apple was not consuming so much of that space. So the answer today then is that, yeah, TSMC will continue to do well. Yes, there might be some nervousness about their future growth and their monopoly dominance, but the reality is that they just can't produce anymore because they can't get the chips for it. Now, I know what you're thinking ahead of me, which is, well, why don't they just have it done by somebody else? Excellent point. Clearly, you have to buy more space. The folks in Korea, there are a couple of manufacturers there. They actually do some work with Samsung as well. But a lot of that capacity is already spoken for, hence they can keep growing, but there are constraints on that growth. And in this case, I call it Apple. The Apple growth is also kind of interesting because Apple's actually a large customer for AI chips from Nvidia. So it's interesting to note they're slowing their own deliveries by the fact that they need those chips to produce their new devices. So hats off to Apple, hats off to Nvidia. Even if we see a dip here, I think it's a buying opportunity for Nvidia. And why is that? Well, I wanted to invite you to take some time to go to 60 Minutes and read about something called the Godfather of AI, or watch the video of the interview. There's a British researcher who just retired from Google who is considered the godfather of AI. And what he explained is that there's a process that they did where they would build several different pieces of software and have them run on top of each other. And that is what AI is. And we're entering the period now where that software will actually write its own software. So new software coming from software being written by AI machines. He indicated that in the future, this could be very dangerous for society, particularly, let's say, in a battle situation where you have two AI-driven military forces battling each other. Things could get out of hand and be damaging to everyone involved, including those countries involved in that war. So I bring this up today because I think putting time into learning about AI in general, and in specific Nvidia, is a really smart move for your investing future, and also looking for ways to add those tools to your basket as a business person to enhance your productivity and ability to execute. So we look forward to definitely keeping you posted on more of what's going on with AI. So this sort of ends our formal presentation on the use of chips by places like Tesla and Apple slowing Nvidia's growth, not because the demand isn't there, but just because there's no capacity for them to continue to double and triple orders and have no problem. I just think it's amazing that anybody could get this far ahead, but congratulations to the folks at Nvidia for what they've done. And unless somebody shows up in the next 6 months to blunt their force, I think they'll become too ubiquitous to be able to deal with in a similar way to how operating systems went to Microsoft. And they basically had a monopoly with Apple and others nibbling, but having no real success going forward. The next thing I'd like to review is, as we've discussed often, our usual health tip. Now, I did sleep research at Stanford when I was an undergrad, and I wanted to remind you that you may want to try to take 2 weeks going to bed and waking up around the same time every day, because you develop what's called a circadian rhythm. Your body appreciates the fact that you're maintaining the same sleep and wake schedule all the time, and will synchronize your eating times, etc., in the process. I also wanted to add to it that we have a number of our doctor clients who suggested that you also think about 70% of the doctors I've spoken to do some kind of fasting. I think the easiest one mentioned was to try to eat on one half of the 12 hours for the day and not on the other half. And then we also, but there are many others that might be more appropriate for how you like to eat. The other thought there is, don't forget, within 4 hours of bed, that would be the ideal time eating. Minimum 2 hours to let the food you've eaten digested. I wanted to just add on one last item today for those of friends who watch us regularly. I have a situation that's popped up. What happened is that I've been working on a project for the last 3 months, and it is almost done. We have to pay the court $2,500, and the the result of that will be lucrative enough that we can offer 5 times what. So basically, we're offering 5x for a 60-day loan. I think it's going to take about 2 weeks for us to repay that. But once we pay the licensing fee to the court, they could take theoretically a month to finish everything out to allow us to move forward. And so I say 60 days, but my target is about 2 or 3 weeks for them to allow us to complete. So if you have any interest in something like this, happy to show docs and get with your lawyer or vice versa. But it's not a bad return, and thought I'd throw it out there. If there's any interest, you can drop us a note at fcp1@aol.com, which is on the bottom of this page, and we'd be happy to update you on that. Thanks again. Have a great day. Bye for now. We look forward to your comments.